All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, feast your eyes and tune your ears. It's that time again. We are live with another episode of The Authority Project. It's the video podcast streamed on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Periscope, where we talk to digital marketers, business coaches, and creators of all kinds on how they've built authority in their field and how you can mimic their success. Developing authority, building your audience, and attracting better clients to your own business. Now, without further ado, let's bring to the virtual stage your host, Brian S. Arnold.
All right, we are in the building. It is Brian S. Arnold here for another episode of the Authority Project. And we have my new good friends here, Ryan Stanley Kirk, I hope I get this right, VanLinden.
Nailed it.
All right, good. They are in the virtual stage here today on another great episode of the Authority Project. They are going to help us, they say, just simply teach us how to sell. Very simply, that's the simple title today. They're going to teach us how to sell.
That's it.
That's all.
Let's see if that can be done in this episode of the Authority Project. So before we get started, let me start with Ryan and then you, Kirk. Just tell us a little bit about you personally and then professionally.
Yeah, absolutely. Personally, I'm 5'11". No, I'm just kidding. No, listen, I mean, I grew up in New Jersey. I still live here. I'm a father of two, a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old. I have a lifelong entrepreneur. I'm a certified professional coach. That kind of goes into the professional side of things. I have been for over a decade. So 10 years of coaching, but also, 30 years of entrepreneurship, connectivity. I believe that living on purpose doesn't happen by accident. And I do my best to live on purpose every day so I can inspire others to do the same.
I love it. Great. Go ahead, you, Kirk.
So personally, Kirk VanLinden is my name. I went, personally would be fun stuff. So personally fun stuff, it's a little small bit about me. So I love extreme sports in general. Like I love skydiving. I love bungee jumping, fast go-karts, dirt bikes, all of that. Not afraid of heights. I could definitely look over the edge of a cliff. But for whatever reason, my whole life, I've been scared to death of spiders. So I will dangle from a cliff and I'll jump out of an airplane, but scared of spiders. Wow. And then another little small bit of personal information about me is I love and can collect handguns, but I don't hunt at all. So I can't ever kill an animal. I'll eat a hamburger, don't get me wrong, but I can't kill an animal. But I do really enjoy collecting handguns and shooting just specifically for the sport. So that's a bit about me personally. On the professional side, my degree in college was in international business with a double minor in Spanish and in music. And for whatever reason, that took me down the road of working in the corporate world. But I found myself pretty early on attracted to sales, but not just sales in doing the right thing for every person every time. So the last decade and a half, almost 2 decades now of my life have actually been in a pretty formalized sales capacity, which brings us here today. Awesome
stuff. I'm the exact opposite of extreme. The only thing, but I had a little stint in Mexico in Cozumel with a dirt bike. And I had a big fall, which is crazy. Like 2 of us had a big fall. So it was fun, but it was like the bikes weren't really greatly managed, detailed. And so it was just like they didn't work correctly. Anyway, so we took a couple stumbles. Anyway.
But you'll take the spiders over the dirt bike, is what you're telling me.
Well, it depends on how big those spiders are. If they get to about this big, you guys can't see it, can't listen. About this big anyway. No. But anyway, so tell us first of all, what project you guys are currently working on, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things for us right now. Our big focus is everything around just serving our audience. And so right now we're growing that audience and we're really customizing how we can best help them in everything they're doing. So one of the things that we've recently started is, in fact, in this last month, we started our YouTube channel. And so that's a big project in and of itself, where we're
Yeah.
where one, there's the content, and it's really specific to helping somebody the very best in a short amount of time, just giving them free stuff as much as possible. But then with that, there's all the behind the scenes stuff to edit and to do the thumbnails and upload it and figure out hashtags and all of that. So that's one of the biggest projects that on my side I've been working on, and Ryan has been doing a ton of the videos and all of that as well. So I would say that's maybe one of our bigger projects.
Oh,
Yeah.
so-
And the only thing I would add to that, just kind of as a little bit of a backstory, is that, we really just started this business in March. So the name of the business is teachmetosell.com, which is where we came up with like the concept. Okay, so are you guys really is it that easy? Just teach me to sell. And the concept was built around, so Kirk and I met through the coaching industry in general, and we meeting a lot of coaches, meeting a lot of consultants, meeting a lot of even fitness trainers, people in direct sales. We recognize that there's a lot of people out there who know they want to change the world. They know they want to serve. We call them SOSs, or service-oriented solopreneurs. And they go and they get the certification. Maybe they worked with a coach, or they worked with a consultant. They worked with somebody who changed their life, and they want to be able to do the same for others. And now all of a sudden they have their first conversation with someone, and they ask them, the prospect asks them how much they charge.
Yeah.
And they freak out. They get uncomfortable.
Yes.
They'll offer them half the price or even for free, just because they don't want to offend somebody.
Yeah.
And so we just recognized there was an area, Kirk, and by the way, Kirk, you mentioned, yes, the past 20 years, 2 decades, you've been in sales, but you've also been in sales training specifically. So working with people, training them to sell hundreds of millions of dollars worth of sales in the financial industry, et cetera. So what we decided, and my background is a little bit, I didn't touch on, but I'm also I've also been a internal coach for one of the lead coach training organizations in the world. So not only am I, a life coach, but a professional coach. And so we recognized, I've got the background as the entrepreneur. Kirk has the background as an entrepreneur, but also in sales training. So there's got to be a way that we can help people recognize left brain, very specific sales skills, but also right brain mindset. Like, how can you be the best version of yourself as often as possible? And that's where we speak mostly, to stop selling and start serving. And so with that came in March, right? Of course, we target everything perfectly as soon as COVID decided to take over the country. I think somewhere between March and April, right? We had all the paperwork rolling. And so it was, this past couple of months has been about kind of feeling out the landscape. Yeah. We have teachmetosell.com. You can go there and learn about more of our other stuff. But to Kirk's point, it's really been mostly about connecting with our audience and building our Facebook page and building our YouTube channel, and really starting to understand how we connect with as many people as possible to serve them, so they can serve more people.
Awesome. I love it. That could be another section that we can talk about. YouTube is a whole different animal all of itself.
Now you tell me.
Yeah, exactly. It's a whole different animal all in itself. But I see a lot of marketers slowly but surely jumping back onto YouTube, and because they're seeing a lot of YouTube has just always been there. It's just never gone anywhere. It's always been there, and they've people. It's a place where people just gravitate to. Eventually, during the day, you're going to get to YouTube somehow, right? So,
next to it's like the number 2 search engine behind Google.
Right. Exactly. So, and what I was going to say, you kind of dived into it. You got into my question, but I want to know just a little bit more about how you guys got together. You say you met in the coaching circle, but when did you guys know that this guy's pretty cool, let's work together? How did that come about?
Yeah. So I'll chime in a little bit, and then Ryan, definitely you as well.
Sure.
It's a culmination of a series of events that led to us coming together, because this wasn't the plan really. But for kind of one of the first ahas for me was, as I was going through the actual coach certification process myself, one thing that I recognized was the biggest fear collectively in the class wasn't about being a great coach as much as it was about having the sales part of the conversation, which for me, that was the most comfortable thing. And I already felt good at being a coach because I was a coach long before I went through the certification process. But then seeing it over and over and over again, that there's this huge fear around sales, for one. Two, there's a huge misconception around what sales actually is and what it no longer is, right? So what sales is and what sales is not. People are still parroting advice from the 80s, right? Stuff that stopped working more than 30 years ago. And so it's no wonder people are so overwhelmed in this space. Well, fast forward a little bit more and starting to see how many new coaches and consultants there are in the world that are spending a bunch of money to get certified, or they have these dreams of just helping people, serving people. And this is true, by the way, also for fitness instructors, for anyone in kind of a service-oriented space where they just want to change the world, right? They've got this dream, they've got this vision. I want to help people, I want to make a difference, and I know I can. And then there's this huge roadblock in their way of, but I don't really want to talk to people. I just want them to come to me and say, you just shut up and take my money. But that doesn't happen in real life, right? And so starting to see that there was this big component of sales and taking the guesswork out of it. It's actually so much easier than people make it out to be if you know what you're doing. And a big piece of that is mindset, which is where Ryan really comes in too. So coming together and really saying, how do we solve their problem? Because sales, the gurus that are out there, they're talking to people who want sales, who love sales. We're trying to talk to people who are scared to death of sales, who don't want to do sales. They never wanted to be in sales. That's why they don't have the experience, but they want to make a difference. And so we're really creating something new. It takes both of us in this space where we've really got the specialist or expert in the mindset space, Ryan. And then we've got, the experience that I've acquired over all of the years of not just sales, but doing the right thing for every person every time, no matter what, and never changing your personality in the process type of sales. And bringing these together to solve what we see as a major problem as to why most coaches and consultants will fail. And that's what we're after. We're solving that problem. That was I don't know if you add anything to that or disagree with me, Ryan, on that, but that's where I'm coming from on this.
No, but 100%. And to go back to how do we specifically meet and decide this is what we wanted to do, I was actually working at a sales training organization. I had my own coaching practice, but I'd also been in sales for them. I was what's called an admissions coach, where people who are interested in enrolling in the program, and it's like a $12,000 program, they would speak with somebody to make sure it's a good fit for both the prospect and the school. And it was my job to talk about my experience as a coach, my experience in the training, and help them to get enrolled. About, I guess, probably January, maybe 2019, right?
Yeah.
In January,
beginning of this year. Yeah.
Kirk was looking to do something better. He wanted to serve more people. He was just kind of at this place in his life where he wanted to connect with, he'd been obviously training people in sales for a number of years, or decade really at this point. And so he decided to make a shift. And so he took a role at this coach training organization and ended up being my boss, actually. And so he came in there and we worked together for a year. And I had been at this company for over 10 years. And at that point, really, in the 10 years that I'd been there, the 1 year that I worked with Kirk, he was the best leader that I worked with. And we just saw eye to eye in a lot of different ways, things from a leadership style, from a communication style, from an empowerment style. And so after about a year or so, Kirk found that it just wasn't the right fit for him and he was ready to move on to something else. And then about 2 months later is when I also decided that it was time to leave the company. Actually, COVID came in, and so it was a couple different things that I was like, oh.
And that I can relate to. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we said, listen, man, we have a good thing going here. We were already empowering our team at the company we were at. We already were connecting with people. We did it well together. And so we said, now with this COVID thing coming on, that the year is changing. Now is the time for the helpers to rise. So not only do we want to be those helpers, but we want to help the helpers who are ready to rise and be a difference they want to see in the world as this craziness is kind of unfolding. So we really want people to be able to get out there and serve who they're meant to serve. And if they're letting a fear of sales or an inability or lack of experience in sales stopping them from doing it, it kind of felt like we always say, Kirk, right? If not us, then who? And if not when, then how does it go?
If not now, then when? Yeah. If not us, then who? And if not now, then when? It's been a big part where it's just we're waiting for somebody to solve for this, and we realize it's got to be us. And I didn't realize you're going back so far. So I joined that company in the beginning of 2019, and so all of that plays its course. But yeah, it really got down to, somebody really needs to do something about this. And more where it's just like, if not us, then who? Who's going to do this? Who are we waiting for? And so it was almost one of those moral obligations that are out there, right? Where we've got what we know will fix this, will solve this. It's a long road. It's a huge, long, thankless road to some extent.
Yeah.
And it's exactly where we want to be. And it's the two of us that I feel like like me on its own is going to be missing the level of mindset that he's got. And if he's trying to focus on both mindset and in sales back and forth, I guess what I'm saying is the two of us together seem to create this level of balance, synergy, and this yin and yang in what we're trying to do, that the puzzles make sense. And nobody else is going to put together that particular makeup. And so here we are, making it up as we go, but knowing that at the end of this, we're making a difference and serving. So.
Well, I think that's a big part of it is making it up as you go. As long as you're going. See, a lot of people don't go. They stop and they analyze and they keep it in their head, and then nothing's going, nothing's happening. So sometimes you got to make it up. Yep. I mean, most of the time, actually. So
and just be sure you're learning from whatever you made up, right?
Right.
Yeah. And balancing it with action, like you said. So Brian, I think you touched on a huge thing. Sometimes we spend too much time consuming our YouTube videos, reading another book, listen to another Audible, or whatever that is, and thinking like, yeah, I really need to do that, or I'm a little smarter. But if we're not balancing it out with at least 50% action for everything that we're learning, then a year from now, we're a lot smarter, and yet we've done nothing. We've served no one. And so, yeah, you got to take action. You have to move forward, and you're never going to be perfect. So you start now, you start sloppy, and you get better. So
yes, absolutely. I'm glad. I hope everyone is listening right now, because that is the main thing about this particular podcast, is that you have to keep on building. You build, you keep building regardless. Building doesn't, you're not building anything in your head. I mean, that's where it starts. But, you have a blueprint, yes, but you got to start building just like you're building a house. So you just keep on building and making something beautiful while you go along. So let's get down to the nitty gritty here.
I'm ready.
First question, first main question.
Well, sorry, it's time to go, everybody. We'll see you.
Why do you need to help people sell? Isn't it just like people who are just born to sell? As in those that just can't do it? Why are you taking on this mantle of just trying to help people sell who are terrified that they're never going to be able to do it? They're never going to be able to be what they call the extroverted, people who don't give a care about, everything. They just like to sell. Why? That's the question. Why?
Yeah, no, I love it. It's a great question. There's more than one answer here, but the first answer is, one thing that I've learned is that those that are born to sell, which there are some people that they love it. They love sales. Mm. For whatever reason, they seem to be selling other people's products. That's those people. And so they are a different breed. They're great to hire for your business. When you're big enough, hire them. That's great. Make sure they're selling your way. But our particular audience, they're not salespeople at the core. In fact, like I said before, they don't even want to do sales. They don't like sales. They're afraid of sales. Yeah. And so it's a weird missing piece. There's a lot of sales books. Our audience hasn't read any of them, mostly, because they don't want to do sales. They want the problem to solve itself, typically speaking. And that's one part of it is that we want to take the pain out of it. You don't have to spend a decade selling in order to be great at it. You just have to do it right out of the gate. Do it on purpose. Do it with a process and a structure, and don't change yourself. But a second big reason is actually because that decade and a half ago or so, I was that person that did not want to sell. I was working in the corporate environment, doing quite well, promoting myself up into a beautiful spot. Mm-hmm. And I had an amazing boss, or a manager at the time, who was also a fantastic mentor. And he came to me one day and he said, look, you've outlived this job. You've done all of the things that you need to do in this space. You've learned all the stuff. You'd be doing yourself a disservice if you weren't already looking for the next career progression, and I want to help you with that. So where do you want to go? And I was like, man, I'm glad you asked. I've been thinking a lot of things, and I could go over here and I could go over there. I want to go anywhere but sales. But so if I could just do this other thing. Well, and he stopped me at some point. He said, hey, I wouldn't be doing my job if I wasn't thorough and I didn't ask. Why not sales? And I told him, I said, every day when I drive home from this job, I'm thinking about all the people that I helped. And I think 10 years from now, they'll never remember this conversation, but I changed the trajectory of their future. I know that 10 years from now, they're in a better spot because of me. And that's what juices me. I selfishly love helping people. And I say selfishly because it selfishly makes me feel good. Sales is slimy. It's convincing people to buy goods or services that they don't need or want. That's the opposite of what I want. Long story short, he was a great mentor, and he showed me that sales actually can be more of what I loved, which is serving people at a bigger, deeper level than they ever even thought possible, because I can go deeper, faster on purpose. I can understand their situation and where they are and where they want to go and any obstacles in their way. And now that I understand them deeply, I can actually offer them solutions that are very, very specific to their moment in life. I can help change the trajectory of their future beyond anything else in a service capacity. So I was that person of a skewed perspective of the 1980 sales slimy people, right? And so one, I was that person. Two, the people that were helping most, they aren't born, most of them, with that silver tongue in the first place. And without fixing this for their business, I've met some of the best coaches I've ever worked with, who, unless and until they solve for the ability to acquire, to inspire new prospective clients to become real clients, they'll continue to rob the world of their great gift. And so I don't know if that sounds melodramatic or not, but that's why I'm doing what I'm doing here, is because their voice needs to be heard. These consultants, these coaches, this has to be solved for, because I can't watch them go back to jobs later to just let this die at the wayside and never become a coach. And so that's my mission. I want to make sure that they get a chance to share their voice with the world, to be the coach for those people, because they will be the ripple out there helping so many people once this is fixed, once this is solved.
I love that. I love that passion, man. Very love that passion.
Thank you.
Let me ask you this though, and here's my philosophy, and either one of you can answer this, is that one should be very knowledgeable about what they're offering, their product or service, and in order to sell it with confidence. I remember that, because I don't consider myself to be a salesman whatsoever. I try to hide from it as much as possible, to be honest. But there was a time, and I'm dating myself, back when I was a salesman. It was a retail place. It was called Sun TV, which is now defunct now. They no longer exist. But I used to be in this place where I was selling computers left and right, and I was great at it because I knew every little thing about that computer. This computer, that computer. I knew all the things. I could sell that warranty like crazy. So I got that extra money. And I was, I was like, oh, getting that check money is great. But I don't think I would be as good of a salesman if I didn't know as much about what I was offering. So do you think, either one can answer this, do you think that a big part of why people are scared of selling is that they're not sure about the value that they're offering?
Ooh, I love that question. I'll let Ryan chime in here too, but just my initial impression.
Yeah, please.
You touched on two things there, really. But one really is the mindset piece of, you got to know that you can make a difference in the world. You don't need more practice. You don't need more time. So that value of new coaches, you're right. They do underestimate the impact they can literally have right now, which is why so many times they're like, you know what, I'll just do it free for you. I need the practice. And so they keep giving themselves away for free, not because they don't know about their product. It's because they don't believe in it, which is themselves. They don't yet believe in themselves to the level to which they deserve to be believing in themselves. Big part of the mindset piece that we bring into this place. So that's beautiful. I love that you asked the question. And the other side of it is kind of going back to what you were doing. If you were selling really well, on the one hand, it could be that you knew the product so well that it gave you confidence in it. But at the end of the day, many of the things that cause us to move forward with another person, if I'm working with you, if unconsciously you're helping me answer 3 very important questions, which is, can I trust you? Do I like you? And do you care? If just from talking to you, your charisma, your personality, I can already tell that I like you, right? That's easy. You're just going to overcome that because you're just naturally you, right?
Yeah.
I can already tell that you care because you're asking me all the right questions and you're trying to solve my problems for me. And now that you're showing me that you got some mad skills about knowing everything about these computer things, I know that you can help me. I know that I can trust you. I know that you care. Let's do business. Shut up and take my money, right? And so a lot of people accidentally do some things very right in sales, but that confidence piece, sometimes we actually do have to fake it until we become it. So I think that's the Amy Cuddy version of that, right? Fake it until you become it.
Nice.
As a coach, when they recognize that even if they're just new out of training as a coach, they're so much better than the other person that they're coaching, for one. And two, sometimes we just can't play coach for ourselves. I just need you to keep me focused on what I'm working. Just ask me questions along, because if I was left up to my own devices, I'm going to start with solving my problem and I'm going to end with like taking out the trash and mowing the lawn because I got too distracted. But you're going to hold me in a space for an hour or however long that is. Just that alone, even without a whole lot of skill, is incredibly valuable for us to solve our own problems. So I think if coaches just knew that one thing about themselves, that they're already valuable. So I guess what I'm saying in that is just those 2 pieces is what you hit on. One, they don't have the confidence in themselves, and so they've got to find it. If it's knowing their product, knowing their thing, and then the second part of that. So I kind of rambled on there, but I know Ryan wrote something down and he was going to add something in there. So I'm going to pass the baton to you, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, all I would say, it's interesting. So in the end, it's fear, right? So yes. So Kirk earlier talked about having a process and the value of having a process. So even if you don't know I'll use the computer as an example. Even if you don't know everything about the computer, but you have a process kind of ahead of time. Listen, I've never met this person. They're coming in, but I know typically when they come in, I'm going to ask them about why they want a computer. I'm going to ask them what they're using the computer for. So you get genuinely and authentically curious. So you don't necessarily have to have the answers, but what you can do is answer them to the best of your honest ability with the information that you do have. And then through that, sometimes you'll learn new things. You know what? I don't know. Let's look into that. Let's find out. And now all of a sudden you have that information for the next person who asks you that same thing. So sometimes, just even to your point about, hey, if I don't have as much information about something, can I be a good salesperson? So the answer is absolutely yes. If you can connect with somebody and they do honestly, authentically know that you care about them, they can trust you and they like you, right? You're going to be able to kind of use your process to know when to ask the right questions and guide them towards the outcome, which is the win-win of them purchasing what you believe is the best product for them and them giving you money for that best product. So that's A. And then B, the other piece to it is, which is so human, is the fear part. So it's not that someone comes in and says, I don't know enough about this product, I can't sell it. It's that I'm afraid this person is going to know that I don't know enough about this product, so I can't sell it. And when you step out of fear and you start living intentionally in purpose and knowing that you're not there to sell this product, but you're there to serve this human being who walked in looking for something that you have that they need. And that is why the two of you are having this conversation. And you start reminding yourself every day when you wake up, this is who I'm here to be. I'm here to serve. I'm here to create a life that I want to live and help others do the same. Whatever you're selling, whether it be, a service or a hard, lumpy project, you want to give something that helps somebody else in some capacity. When you start realizing that's why we're here, and it's not just about a paycheck, it's not just about trying to get the numbers on the board, it's about creating a life where I'm serving and gaining from that service financially and spiritually and emotionally. It's the whole thing. Sales is easy. Sales is fun and easy, unless you're doing it wrong. And if you're doing it wrong, then it's not.
And it's hard. It's brutal, and it's torture.
Yeah. And so we help people.
You said like 2 different things there. Hold on. It's easy, but it's torture, right?
No, if you're doing it wrong, it's torture. And I think too many people are emulating what they think sales is supposed to be, rather than what it actually is or what it can be, which is doing the right thing for every person every time, having a process so that it's efficient, being yourself. And it's all about your intention behind it. If my intention is to close you on a sale, then yeah, it should be uncomfortable because you're trying to manipulate an answer out of someone. But if
Okay, so,
yeah,
yeah. So let me dive into it because I want to. You just brought something up to it, like a person that I dealt with actually this year, who got into my messaging, and he had some kind of thing. I was like, well, okay, I'll go and listen to you. And it was the usual pitch of, it was kind of misleading how he got me to the. I was like, well, this wasn't what I was looking for. But I was like, go ahead. So it was the usual pitch, and I was like, you know what, I'm okay. I'm already have mentors that I'm working with already. And then it was just like, it was a young guy too. So because I think there are still like you said, there's still this thing where, especially in a lot of big organizations, where we're here, next person, or just sell, next person, just sell, next person. Right. So the person that you're talking to is just another piece of data. Sure.
Yeah.
Right. It's just another piece of data and not really a real person. So how do you confront that when you see things like that? I'm not sure if you have people who've come into your experience who are from that world. How do you deal with that in trying to change that type of training that has been, brought on throughout the years?
Mentality in general, right? It's a fear-based, number-based way of living, right? If you think, and Kirk, I'll let you answer in more detail, like how we really address that. But just from a human standpoint, when someone is that, like, listen, I don't care about it. It's just everybody's number. How many phone calls can I make in a single day?
Right.
It is a way of being. It's an old way of being, and it is something that we're finding more and more companies, I think, and humans are looking to shift away from, because they, just like you knew, everybody is so afraid of being sold to anytime you walk out the door right now, right? You're constantly between advertisements, between anywhere you go, you're constantly being sold to. So people know when they're being sold to. Yeah. So if your idea is to go out and hit as many people as you can, you're basically going for as many people to annoy until you find them. And Kirk, I'll let you say, because there's a great expression about the old shot to the face, but
yeah.
Right.
All right, I'll wait for
yeah. So how do we address that? Right now, we're just trying to create awareness. I just did a YouTube video, in fact, about 3 categories of sales, just so that you know the differences, right? And I won't go into them too deep here, but one's transactional. One is a pushing style, which is what you just ran into, somebody who's basically pushing and sometimes can be bullying you into something. That's the convincing people to buy goods or services they don't need or want. Yeah. And then there's the pulling side of sales.
Or making you feel bad for not responding to them.
Yeah, or the guilt or any of the tactics that are out there, right? Which is the slimy sales that I talk about. You can actually do a push style of sales in a very tactful way. But the pulling style is much more, now my focus is on you. What I care about is you and solving your problems. I want to find out how I know what I do, and I'm getting pretty familiar with what you do. And as I learn more and more, I can find a way that I could best serve you. It's kind of like wanting to buy somebody that you care about a gift, but not just a random gift. I'm not going to go buy 1,000 keychains and give them out to everybody. Once I get to know you and I know much deeper information about you, now I've made some fancy picture frame out of the gym floor that was in your high school and with a picture of your friends that you thought was lost forever. It's this customized picture for you. Nobody can replicate that, because nobody took the time to get to know you first. It's a weird example, but the pulling style is that. Well, a lot of people feel like what they need to do is the volume game. The door-to-door knockers, oftentimes, I love watching them because I love studying their process. That's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to either bully you into something, or it's just the law of numbers. You know that they already counted how many houses are on the street. They've done their statistics, and they know that 1 out of everyone on the street is likely to say yes. The thing that Ryan was bringing up there is that there's this saying that says you can ask 1,000 people if you can punch them in the face. You'll be surprised, because one person will eventually say yes with no other explanation. But there's probably a better way of approaching those people. Right? So,
right.
Yeah.
Somebody says he loves the pulling concept. Adrian there.
Thanks, Adrian.
Yeah, awesome.
Hey, Adrian.
So let's get into some how-to, because I know people are going to be on here, series that teach me how to sell. We want to make sure get some how-to in there, I guess. But we've already been doing that if you've been listening. But for people who want some quick tips or strategies for saying, if they're fearful, how do you go about maybe like planning? I'm not sure is there planning for it, or questions, or maybe how you think it should be presented in these days and times. How about that?
Yeah. Why don't we do, Ryan, you want to do like a little mindset piece, and then I'll give them a little how-to that they literally could use today if they had a sales call right after after they see this.
Sure. And then also real quick, I'll just mention, you can go, if you go to teachmetosell.com, there's a free training on there. If you click on it, there's like just 5 shifts that you can make to immediately change your sales game.
Awesome.
To really just as an entrepreneur, as a salesperson. So if you go to teachmetosell.com, they'll see there's like 3 buttons that just says watch our free training. And if you just click on that, it will take your email address. But we haven't sent any emails out. So it's really just, it's a free training. It's about 30 minutes long. So check it out if you want.
Yeah.
And they'll break down
or
5.
the YouTube channel, actually. YouTube channel is great because you can hunt and peck and say 7 minutes of this is going to be all that I need and walk away. So either of those is just free content right now.
But then from a mindset standpoint, it is literally about your why. It is reminding yourself, why am I doing this? Because if you wake up in the morning like, oh my gosh, I have to talk to 600 other people now and say the same thing over and over again, and it's just I hope I get paid, that type of a thing. You know, that's you're gonna physically feel that. Or I have to talk to people who don't want to talk to me. Or
I love how you just said that, because that is the ultimate feeling. I hope I get paid.
Yeah.
I mean, because what you're saying is I think is what's in the back of everybody's mind is like, okay, we're still, I don't know, sorry to cut you off, but we're still thinking about, does this person have enough money to pay what I really want to charge them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a total feeling of lack.
Yeah.
Right. It's this whole energetic feeling of lack. There's not enough. There's not, that whoever I talk to, a majority of them are not going to want to give me money. There's not enough people. Like it's this whole underlining energetic feel of there's not enough, and I have to fight and struggle to get it.
Right.
As opposed to starting your day with an abundant feeling, the opposite of lack, gratitude, right? You can never be feeling stress or lack when you're genuinely grateful. So from a mindset standpoint, to literally think about your day, when you start your day, create gratitude intentionally for the sales that you're going to have. Not only for the sales that you're going to have, but for the people that you're going to serve and your ability to serve them. So this is something that takes practice, and it's not just, woo-woo stuff, but with waking up every day with a purposeful mindset. This is why I'm here today. This is who I am today. Today, I'm here to serve. I'm going to speak with X amount of people, and I'm going to show up as I'm going to be present for each of them, and I'm going to find how I can serve them best. And through that, I will encourage others to want to serve me, and I will encourage others want to work with me. And then from there, as you develop, then it becomes a relationship game as well, right? So you're not, as you're connecting with people and genuinely, I'm not saying BS people, but genuinely making friends and making connections with people to see what the win-win is. They feel that and they know that when they're going to walk away. And obviously that we go back to process. There's a part of the process where you ask for referrals and you take it to the next level. So there's so many, again, it's a combination of mindset and process. And again, Kirk will give you a real tip in a minute. But from a mindset standpoint, to decide who you're going to be every single day. And if you're an entrepreneur or if you're in sales as a job, you get to decide how you're going to show up for each and every single one of those calls. And you get to decide who you want to be as a human being for each and every single one of those calls and what you're going to get out of it at the end of the day. And it's not, I hope I get paid. It's, I can't wait to serve somebody today.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. And then some of the how-to. So you've got your mindset in place. You can help. You're not going in with any kind of a weak mindset. You know that you're going to help them in this conversation no matter what, whether it's working with you or not. That's the first rule here is go in with the mindset of doing the right thing for every person, every time, no matter what. And that means that even if the best way you can serve them is by pointing them in a different direction because working with you isn't going to be the best thing for them. So don't focus on the money. Focus on the person that's in front of you right now. Nothing else in this world exists except for this moment with this person. And if your intent is to just help them right now, even if it could be your product, hey, based on what you told me, it sounds like the thing that I do is going to be a really good fit to get you from A to B way faster, right? So it could be you and it could be somebody else. The second thing is, and this kind of ties into the first one, don't go in trying to say, all right, what do I need to do or say to get them to say yes to me? That means you've already lost focus. It's no longer on them, it's on the outcome. Go in without being tied to the outcome, just to serve. You'll see that you actually have the highest probability of success if you're not focused on that end point. And then as far as how you actually approach the conversation itself, without giving you the actual framework. There's an on-purpose strategy. There's many of them. But without that, realize that you actually are already a sales expert. You've been one your whole life and you just didn't realize it. So imagine this scenario. You have your best friend, and your best friend is maybe an introvert or somebody that's been single a very long time. You're walking, you're talking, you're catching up, you're walking down the sidewalk, and they look over at you and they say, "So I met someone." Approach your conversation in what you would do next in that moment. So think about this. You're excited all of a sudden. You are excited to be in this moment with this person that you care about. And you have a lot of sincere curiosity about all the details, everything. And so you're going to start asking a lot of really good questions. Oh my gosh, who is it? When did you meet? How did you guys meet? Tell me more. Tell me about them. When am I going to get to meet them? Right? And so you're asking questions to try to learn everything about it. You can't get it fast enough. You are hungry for the information. I'm not asking information because I'm trying to manipulate them. I genuinely can't get the information fast enough because I'm sincerely curious. Now watch your pace and tone. Don't go all crazy and fast talking on them, but come from that space of I sincerely want to learn. I'm very interested. That means I'm going to stay focused on you and what you're saying. Now at the end of that same conversation, you're likely going to present something whether you knew it or not. I'm presenting a solution to you, but really what you're doing is you're offering a thing that you want, which is, when am I going to meet them, right? That's the thing that I'm wanting to have happen in some way. And I know it's going to be great for everybody. And so however you would say that, there are sales ways to approach this, but you know this person, you've created rapport with this person. You don't have to have perfect words with this person. You genuinely care. They trust you. And at this point, they probably know that you can help or whatever those are, right? There's this serving space. So don't be caught up on the perfect words. Yeah. Say the thing that you want to say. Come from that sincere place. And you'll actually see that, one, you'll win more often than not. And two, they'll feel that your intention is in the right place no matter what words come out of your mouth. They'll feel the intention first and foremost. And three, and I probably would say this is the most important part, you're actually going to have a lot more fun in these sales conversations because you're all in on whatever's most important to them. You just want to solve their problems, or you want to give them solutions. So you've already been a sales expert your whole life. You just never called it that. You know how to talk to people. You can focus in on that one person and you serve them. You help them in that conversation in whatever way you can. And if at the end they say no, that's okay. You were offering a solution, and if they don't take you up on it, hey, they know where to come for the solution later. And that's okay too. You had a great conversation. You met another human being. You bonded at a deeper level. You can both go on your merry ways, and it didn't ruin your day, right? You had a great moment, no matter what. It was already a win.
Gosh, awesome. So we're going to try to get through these next few questions within the hour. We're going to try our best. But I'm loving the answers here, guys. Really loving the answers here. So the ultimate question. Well, I got two ultimate questions.
Two of them?
Two of them. How does one deal with objections is number one. And then how does one deal with rejections? You have the objections, the rejections, which is pretty much almost the same thing, but in a way. But how does one deal with that? With mindset first of all, and with how to get around that, so that there still might be a sale in the end.
Yeah, specifically. So I'll let Kirk maybe
and still be nice by trying to get over here.
Of the objections, but rejection is all mindset. Rejection is based on a fear of somebody not liking you. And so we touched on at the very beginning of the call, right? I feel rejected. The concept of being rejected is at the end of the call, spending physical energy, right? Every time we have a thought, we have brainwaves. We are literally creating energy with our thoughts.
Yeah.
And spending time thinking that this person doesn't like me, that didn't go well, I am not good enough. Like that is all rejection. And that all comes from within. It literally has nothing to do with the person on the other line. Even if they were a total jerk and you weren't, and they were mean and said, listen, stop calling me. I never want anything to do with you again. Like that literally has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them and maybe how their day was going or even how their life is going, like meaning the past X amount of years. So when we start to stop thinking this has anything to do with me and this has happened to me, as opposed to the concept of this happening for me, right? So just as a life coach and as a coach in general, I live my life by that philosophy. And so we start to recognize that call didn't go well for me. So if that's the answer, and if that's the truth, so let me start getting, instead of physically creating energy that is just focusing on what that I suck and what's not good and what I didn't like about it and how it went wrong and how my numbers aren't going to be good, and thinking all these numbers, that all these things are not serving your energy or your purpose for the next call.
Yeah.
You can literally spend that exact same amount of time, that exact same amount of physical energy, if not even more, because you add some excitement and emotion to it, being curious as to what can I learn from that conversation I just had. How was what I just went through, right? If you wanted to judge it as not a pleasant conversation, how can what I just went through, how can I just utilize the time that I just existed to serve my future and to serve my purpose and to be an opportunity instead of a disappointment or rejection or a stress or an overwhelm. I think if you look at any great leaders, anybody who's successful in anything, they look at every moment as an opportunity and as a lesson if they want to be. Because that's what we're here for. We have if I want to be a great salesperson, I'm spending time thinking about how much this didn't go well and that didn't go well and I got rejected, that I'm not becoming a great salesperson. I'm becoming a bad salesperson because all I'm thinking about is how of a bad salesperson I am.
Okay.
Or how that person was mean and I only attract mean people into my life and the leads I have are all terrible, right? That's what you're going to start seeing and will start appearing. But when you start thinking, okay, that was an awesome lead because I learned that I definitely don't want to work with that type of a person again. And here's why. I learned that they are not open to this. It's like, I'll bring real quick and I'll give it to you, Kirk, for the objections. But if I'm a huge music fan, so I always bring things in my brain back to music. But let's just say, which I'm not, by the way, let's just say I'm a huge country music fan.
Okay.
And I come across somebody who is like a death metal fan. If I sit there and try to convince them to love country music the way I love country music, and then was disappointed at them or, in the whole situation because they didn't love country music, like that has nothing to do with me or the fact that I love country music or even country music.
Yeah.
It has to do with somebody else's lifelong experience has led them to have taste in death metal.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean, by the way, that people who don't love death metal can't also love country music. I'm not, it's not about you. What is the opportunity? And in that state, so the opportunity might be cool. So I wonder if I could find out if I really was passionate about converting people to love country music, even death metal people, I might find somebody in death metal who loves country music and find out some synergies in there. So the next time I have that conversation, I say, you know what? I know it makes sense. You don't really feel like this, but by the way, this guy who and they say, yeah, of course I know that guy, loved this country music. So check them out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a way to learn from the experience always.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, and then the how-to on it, and this is funny because the last few questions you've asked, I literally just did the videos about these on YouTube as well. So I love this. If you guys want to go deeper in this, there's some me rambling deeper on these things.
No,
but two things on the objections. One is that if you do get an objection, get excited. This is actually a really good thing because somebody who doesn't care, who they've already decided no, they won't give you the courtesy of even giving you an objection. They're just done. They already said no in their own minds. So if you're getting an objection, that means there's life in what you've got going on. They're basically asking for help. Help me get over this one thing. Help me get over these two things. It's either price or it's, I don't know if I have the time commitment or I don't know if this is going to work for me. They're literally asking you for more. It's a good thing. It's actually, it doesn't feel good in the moment, but it actually is a good thing. There are ways to help mitigate getting objections through a process on the front end that's beyond this conversation. But here's a simple approach if you do get an objection. So whether it's over price or time or whatever it is, what we tend to do as humans is when we hear an objection, we immediately respond in some way. We react, right? But that same scenario of your friend that just said, I met someone and you're all interested in all of the stuff. And you're saying, oh my gosh, I want to meet them. Can we meet tomorrow? And they say, honestly, I don't think I feel good about you meeting them yet. You're not going to jump into responding and be like, I'm a really good person. I'm very fun to be around. I'm very humorous and you and I have been friends forever. And that's what we tend to do in a sales conversation is we start just responding. It's a really good service. It's really inexpensive. It's less, it's really going to help you or I'll give you a discount, right?
Yeah.
So instead of jumping in to respond, what I typically teach people for kind of a basic 101, handling an objection in the moment, is I'll say, all you got to do is hit them with a car. And it's just an analogy, C-A-R. Don't jump to respond, that's the end. Just clarify, that's the C. Acknowledge is the A, and the R is then respond. So they say, I don't think I'm comfortable with us meeting just yet. Clarify. Oh, why not? Tell me more. Tell me what you're thinking on that. Well, the thing is, it's so new and I'm not sure yet. And I mean, I don't know, maybe they won't be around. I don't want to jinx it. I'm superstitious. I definitely want you to meet them, just not today. I'm not ready yet. Right.
And
now you can acknowledge.
I just want to jump in real quick if it's okay. But
Yeah.
I'll say in that clarification process, sometimes it's for both of you, right? Sometimes they just like, I don't know why. Well, and the challenge when people are in an entrepreneurial and sales part is they're afraid to get the extra clarification. They hear no, and all of a sudden they think that's it. When it might not be no as much as it might just, cool. So tell me more why. And so either A, and I'll let you continue, Craig, I didn't mean to cut you off, but either A, you'll learn for your next prospect, right? That what different people, what challenges are coming up for other people. B, you might also learn something about your process, something that you skipped over that you didn't mention earlier in the process. So that's important as well. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So that's it. And then acknowledging is for the coaches out there. They already know this. They're already taught. But acknowledging is not making you right for it. Not saying, no, you're right. That totally makes sense. Well, maybe the totally makes sense could work. But acknowledging what they just said, right? Sometimes I'll just appreciate and say, hey, I appreciate explaining that to me. That now I have a much better idea as to what your expectations are. And now I can respond. Now that I have the right amount of information. So don't panic. Don't go into survival mode. Just clarify. Even if you came right out and said, hey, that sounds like a pretty big objection, right? If they're like, oh, that's really expensive. Honestly, that might not be an objection. That might just be a surprise. You'll say, hey, let's talk about it. Let's dig into that. So you said it's really expensive. Help me understand a little bit more around your expectations. What were you expecting it to be and all of that kind of stuff? And they're like, well, you said that it's, $10,000 for 3 sessions with you, which, by the way, if you're a coach and you're charging that, good on you. Good job. But whatever that is, and maybe that's what that's what your price is, right? So after they said, yeah, no, I wasn't expecting that much at all. That's a lot of money that I have to really wrap my head around. Now I can acknowledge and say, hey, no, that's a very valid concern. I told you before that this session is not about convincing you to work with me at all. I want to make sure I fully understand what you've got going on. I want you to understand how I could best serve you. But at the end of this, if it's not a hell yes for both of us, then it's a no matter what, okay? And so I really want to appreciate you being so candid with me. And here's what I'd say to that. And then I would respond in a way without going into another formula. Now I can respond a little calmer. So if you get your next objection, hit them with a car. Clarify, acknowledge, respond, basic 101 on that.
Love it. I love it. So I want to sneak in a quick question about pricing. Do you set the price before or after? I've seen a very few people say before, just to get it out there. But should you say it? Most people say it after, obviously, but is it done with customization, or do you have a set price? I know people have like a pricing for, we had a coach the other day, he had a pricing for this one-on-one, for group, and then a third one for organizations. Is that what you guys would normally put it out there as far as your pricing?
Yeah, my 2 cents on this, and this is going to be an opinion on this. Don't let your sales conversation be the first time you're thinking about your price. It only adds that much more, like, I don't know what I'm going to say when they say, how much do you charge? I don't have an answer to that. And I'm going to have to do math in the back of my mind while I'm trying to focus on you. Right. Remember, you're the most important thing in this moment. I'm working with you right now. I don't have time to be doing math in the back of my head. So my 2 cents on this is at least have a general idea of what your offerings are and what the price is. Now, if you know what they typically are, I'm very much okay with a negotiation at that point. Hey, given what you're trying to do, I can modify my existing. It's normally 8 weeks long, but it sounds like you've got something that needs to be solved a lot faster. So we need to do something different in a 3-week period. Given what I would normally charge in the 8 weeks, and we're about to run a marathon instead of that, or I run a sprint instead of a marathon, here's what I would be willing to do, or here's what I can do for you. Now I can make changes to it or tweaks to it. That doesn't take a lot of brain capacity. But my 2 cents is probably pre-think out what it is that you're going to charge and stick to it. Stick with your value, right, in that space. It just allows me to be 100% present in this moment with you without having to fumble around with a calculator and figure out how much should I charge? How much are you willing to pay me? I don't know. So I do want to be relatively confident on what that is. So
yeah. The only thing that just popped into my noggin as well is something I did when I was just starting off as a coach. So for anybody who's new out there in any type of a business, depending on if you have your prices on your website, so to really answer your question, everybody's going to be different. Every product's going to be different. Every service is going to be different. Every market is different. There's so many different ways to be, a solopreneur. So it's kind of a difficult question to answer in general, but I would also suggest for people who are starting off new, they typically undervalue themselves right off the bat.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, a new coach, new consultant, somebody, they will undervalue themselves because they're new. And that's okay. It makes sense. It's part of the natural progression. But as a tip, I just kind of point out, there's an opportunity to, whatever you decide your first client is, whenever you have your first, and to Kirk's point, know it is ahead of time. Know it. In fact, have that part of your conversation memorized. So it's nothing you have to think about or worry about, but be ready to say it. But then secondly, the next time on your next client, up it by $100 or $200. And then your next client, up it by $100 again. So this way, each time you're building confidence in your value of yourself. Mm-hmm. And when you get to a level that you realize, okay, now, because already because most people start off too low and they're not really able to recognize that in themselves. And so they start off too low. And if the next person you even have a prospective call, you're $100 more, then all of a sudden you're like, okay, that's a little bit outside my comfort zone, but that's okay. Let me see what the reaction is. And then that person, maybe they didn't enroll. And the person after that, you do another $100 more. And all of a sudden that person does enroll because now you've got more confidence in what you're doing. And you realize that you are upping your own value, even subconsciously. You get to a point where eventually you realize that you're charging what your value is and whatever you decide that number is. That was just a little tip that I thought I'd share.
Awesome.
But it works for some people.
So just I just want to dive more into this pricing thing because I think it's so important for people to really know about this because they want to sell, and that's the end game, right? Of how to price. Do you recommend pricing per access to you, or saying like done with you, done for you kind of thing, or that kind of thing? Or how do you structure it, or think that people should structure it when they're just starting out? Customized is the customized thing, or what is the best thing that people should go with as far as that is concerned? Because I know there's some customers who are like, you'll have customers who just need you for once a week, and there's customers who want to ask you 20,000 questions. That's going to be you have to pay for that. So so how do you deal with access to you, or how you should structure your pricing in that way?
So one thing out of the gate is, there's the reverse of that is you got to know your customer, know your target, your avatar, that persona that is your target audience in your niche.
Yeah.
That trumps everything else, because if I really know them at a deep level, I know how to best serve them. And that's what I'm going to cater my offerings around, because in some cases, the done for you is exactly what a big group within that is going to need. And so they're the high need for support individuals. And then there's the other end of that spectrum, which is the high need for control, low support. Look, I don't want you to do it for me. Just give me the tools that I need so that I can get it done. So I am going to have to serve both of those. They're well within my niche. But so my first thought on that was make sure that you deeply know who you're serving before you're even creating these offers in the first place. And then the other side is, look at your business 5 years down the road or 10 years down the road. Are you creating self-employment? Do you want a job, right? In which case, a lot of your pricing is going to make you busy. If you're doing a coach and it's always one-on-one coaching, and that's how you're always going to proceed, that's completely fine. There's a lot of people that love that lifestyle. You can really get to know somebody and connect at a deep level. But you're only one person. So there's a finite amount of people that you can serve in that capacity, right? And so if down the road in 5 years, what you're looking at is something less of a self-employment and more of a business, now you're going to probably need to look at, hey, I need to at least have some offerings that are scalable, because I know I'm going to grow out of the ability to do one-on-one. In fact, think of Tony Robbins. If you guys haven't heard of him. He's like the gigantic banana hands guy, personal power, motivational speaker guy, right? Big mouth, big jaw.
Yeah.
He used to do one-on-one coaching, and then he moved into group coaching. Well, today, if you wanted to work one-on-one with Tony Robbins, it's $5 million and it's a 7-year waiting list.
Oh, geez.
He's too busy. He's helping too many people. He's too scalable. And so, along the way, he's changed his pricing. His one-on-one, that kept getting more and more expensive because supply and demand. He doesn't have enough time in his life to help one-on-one every person.
Yeah.
But he fills a room, or he just did his virtual event with over 30,000 people attending worldwide that he's helping. Talk about scalable. We can't do that many people one-on-one in our lifetimes, right? So going back to the pricing question, there isn't a right answer. It's whatever you decide. You just decide. You can base it on averages. You can base it on a random number, but pick it and stick to it and see if it works and make adjustments along the way. So it's in a job, you're looking to do things right? If I have a job, let's just not screw it up. I need to do things right. In business, I need to continuously do the right things. I don't always have to do it right, but I do have to do the right things. So pick a price, stick to it, move forward, and then assess and make adjustments along the way. Just have an answer is all. So that's my 2 cents on that.
I love it. So we are right up a little bit past the hour. I appreciate you guys are just crushing it here with the content. I know people are getting a lot out of this. So I have one final question, and maybe another 1.5. I should say.
Okay.
But this is the question I ask all of my guests here. They see you guys, they like what you're doing, they love the answers. They want to be in the same type of space, just like you guys have, and make a difference and serve the people that they want to serve. Can you tell them how they can become an authority in this space the way you guys have? And I'll give you guys full screen for whoever wants to start first.
I've been doing a lot of talking, Ryan. I want to give it to you a little bit, and then I'll jump in.
Nice. I'm just kidding. How to become an authority in an entrepreneurial sales training space. First of all, how to become an authority in anything is to first, decide what it is. Kind of touched on that last thing on your pricing, but decide what you want to do. Decide who you want to be. Mm-hmm. Secondly, decide that it's a possibility. Because going back to fear, there's so many people that spend so much time thinking of all the reasons why I can't be an authority, why it won't work, why I'm not good enough, why that happened to me, and my mother was this, and this was that, and the other thing. They spend every reason in the world thinking all the reasons that they can't be what they want to be. So first of all, decide what you want to be. Secondly, decide that you have the ability to do it. Like really think about that and acknowledge it. Thirdly, and again, this is kind of a huge mindset piece, but create gratitude for your ability to accomplish it. Because by doing that, you're also acknowledging that the number two, you're also by creating gratitude for the outcome ahead of time, you are creating an elevated motion. You are creating a mindset. You're creating a body that wants to move forwards towards this, and your body will memorize that. Your brain will memorize that. So by creating gratitude for who you are going to be, believe it or not, it makes a huge difference. And then just taking action on it every day. Actually, I'll dial it back. Write it down. Once you've decided what you want to do and who you want to be, write it down. Read it out loud every single day when you start your day, when you go to bed. When you're doing that, create gratitude for the outcome. Create gratitude, like feel what it'll feel like once you are the authority. Because typically what happens is so many people spend their life chasing the outcome and saying, I will feel better once I am the authority, but I'm not going to be able to get there until I do all these different things. And I'm having a struggle doing all these different things. But if you, while doing the different things, while taking action, while working hard, are spending equal amounts of time or as often as possible creating gratitude and memorizing physically what it'll feel like once that is accomplished, you are moving towards that way you're moving towards that outcome in a more efficient manner. So read it out loud every single day. And then of course, literally, now that you are reminding yourself and your subconscious of it every single day by reading it out loud, take action on it every single day. That can be read a book, that can be watch YouTube videos, that can be join a mastermind group, that can be really the most important, I think, is surround yourself with people who are in that space and they're looking to grow in that space and that will support you in that space as well. If you're spending just time, hours of your week just binge watching stuff on Netflix. You're just spending hours upon hours at the bar, hanging out with your friends who don't really have the drive to become an authority. Like that's what you're going to become more of, because that's what you're physically being. And so if you want to be something else, as obvious as this sounds, I know I'm just kind of riffing out loud, but you've got to be something else. Like if you want to be an authority, you have to start behaving as an authority would behave until you get to be that way.
Love it. Go ahead, Kirk. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So you want to be an authority in your specific space. For me, the number one thing is make sure that you are really clear about your why. Why are you doing this? What's your drive? And if you say, well, because I want to be rich, then go a little deeper, because anything for the purpose of just money, it's a very shallow reason to do something. It's not going to drive you through the hard times. Usually when you find a good why, it makes the hair stand up on your arm. You know that it's something bigger than you. It's beyond you, right? You're helping, you're serving, you're making a difference, or it's something that you went through, something that you're passionate about, and you want to help other people avoid that thing. When you get a why that helps the hair stand up on your arms, step one is accomplished. You are already fueled enough such that when things get hard, you will continuously push through those hard times. You'll be relentless in your pursuit, which is the second thing. When you've got that thing that you know that you can be an authority in, that you want to help serve the world in that space, commit right now to being relentless in your pursuit. Don't worry about what other people think about you or what they're saying about you, or that your family and friends don't yet get your vision. You get your vision. So just keep being relentless in your pursuit. And then the last thing is just sort of a lesson on resonance or resonating. What I mean by that is if you have a tuning fork in this hand and you have the exact same tuning fork pitch in this hand, so both of them are E flat. If you actually have it on a wood thing, this works better. But if you ring one of them and then you silence it, you'll notice this one's ringing already because it resonates. So when you have a perfect pitch, it actually resonates off of that other perfect pitch, or different rooms have that same resonancy. Well, here's where I'm going with this. There are people out there in the world that right now will resonate with your voice, with your personality, with your charisma, with your quirks, with who you are when you're sincerely being yourself. Somebody else could say the exact same message. Ryan and I could tell them the exact same message. It's not going to resonate with that person like you can. So the world actually needs you. There's an audience out there right now, and they need your voice, and they don't even know it yet. So you sort of have a moral obligation to step up and actually put yourself out there, as vulnerable as it is, because they're waiting for you. That's what I have to say about that.
Incredible. You guys are amazing, man. You guys, I don't know how you guys got together, but it's an incredible partnership, incredible content from both of you. You guys really, I can tell that I know it's going to be, if you work with, it will be an incredible experience just to working with you guys. I know that for sure already, just by listening to you guys today. So I am so honored to have you on the show.
Yeah,
thanks for having us, man. It's been fantastic. Love your questions. I can't believe how fast the time went. I could talk to you for another 3 hours. So thanks for having us on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, the honor is mine. And the only thing I have left is to let you guys know to get onto theauthorityletter.com, or you can text us at We Are Live at 44222. We are in the very last week of our 8-week digital product giveaway. Promoting the podcast, the video to podcast. It's a long story, but we've been live streaming for a while, and now we've been transferring that every other day to the podcast, and it's been going quite well. So I appreciate everybody who's supported, and we can use one more last week of support. We're giving away the Bluetooth speaker for the last one this week. It is wireless, it's Bluetooth, it's waterproof, inside, outside. So get on that if you can. And we might have something.
I'm going to send a text myself.
Where's my phone?
We might have to, we might have something later to promote some other things. But I appreciate all the support, and I appreciate all the guests that have come through. We have a whole lot more guests coming through. We are booked out till January at this point. So we're not going anywhere, and maybe we'll have you guys back. I hope we can get you guys back.
We'd be blessed.
More.
Love to be back.
I appreciate very much appreciate it. People, start building, build it, share it, and they will come. That's my motto. You got to keep building your platforms, because that's the only really way for me that you really start knowing, start building your worth. Okay, just start knowing your worth, knowing your value. You keep on building, get it out of your head. You get it out of your head. You had the blueprint already. You had the blueprint already. Just keep working on it. Just start the working. Get that hammer and nail and start nailing it down. All right. Any final word before we get out of here at all? Before we get out of here, you guys?
Man, I loved what you just said, and people will hear that and they'll feel it. And then if you don't do something today, like what action can you take as soon as we're done? We're closing up in like 30 seconds here. What action can you take? Some action that you can take today and go do it, no matter how little or how big it is. I don't care what it is, but take action. That's the only way. That's the only way that you're going to be able to go out there and influence the world. And the world needs you, like we just said. So take some action, no matter how little or big it is, today, right now. After this is over, go do it now. In fact, click off right now. Go do it right now.
Let's go.
Awesome. And that's a wrap for this episode of the Authority Project. Thank you, guys. Take care and be blessed. And
Thank you, Brian. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
And that's a wrap for this episode of The Authority Project. Thanks so much for tuning in. And if you like what you heard, we want to hear from you. Subscribe, rate, and give an honest review. Share and tell your friends so they can hear too. And for even more authority building tactics, be sure to sign up at theauthorityletter.com. Get free weekly content and ongoing digital product giveaways to help you on your entrepreneurial journey. We certainly hope you got a key takeaway, or maybe an aha moment from today's broadcast. Just remember, it's your authority. Build it, share it, and they will come. Until next time.